This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I got somebody straight out of New Jersey, award-winning business owner. He's Super Joe Pardo. I love that name. I don't know, like Super Mitcho, whatever, Fabulo, I don't know. But no, I just got a regular name, Mitch Steven. But this guy is Super Joe Pardo, and we're going to talk about something that I love to talk about. But it's about straightening out your offices, getting somebody on the team besides just your damn self so that you can actually have a life, and quit wearing all these hats and quit reacting like, every time the phone rings, you stop what you're doing and start doing something else. I was that guy for many, many years, completely reactionary, just trying to piss on the next fire that started, and there was one popping up like every other 15 minutes. And it was a horrible way to live. I guess what happens is, you're a doer, you're a super doer, you're a multitasker, and you just do it till you can't do it anymore. And then you look at the mirror one day and go, how stupid is this? And then you finally get some help. But before we talk to Joe, I got to give homage to taxfreefuture.com. Please go to taxfreefuture.com and watch the 37 little videos that you won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. We're going to tell you what they're not telling you, and we're going to tell you why they're not telling you. Go to taxfreefuture.com and get yourself some knowledge about tax-free and tax-deferred investing, because if you're not doing it, you're leaving one of the greatest weapons in the financial building planet on the table untouched. You got to jump in and see it. Taxfreefuture.com. Okay, got the bills paid, Joe. Man, nice to have you. I'm all fired up because we got to talking a little bit before the show because because that's what we do, and he just got me fired up, man. This is a subject near and dear to my heart. How you doing, Joe? I'm talking the whole time here. I'm not even going to let you talk.
I don't want to cut you off, Super Mitch. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? You're feeling fired up, right?
I am fired up, man, because
Glad to hear that.
This topic is one that people just don't walk up to me and say, hey, I need to systematize my office, but I hear it in every conversation. People are overwhelmed. They're just wearing their butts out. They're making good money, or when it's really bad is when you're wearing your butt out and you're not making any money. And part of it's because probably there's too little of you being pulled in too many directions. So you're going to talk to us about the team, the offer, and the process, right?
Yep, that's
okay.
What I talk about.
And you've helped other people straighten things out before, and that'll be an offer down the way. But let's get to some real content here and see if we can't help some people just from this 30-minute, 40-minute podcast. I like to tell everyone, Joe, we'll go till it's not fun anymore.
There's no such thing as too long, just too boring. And it's your show, so you need to own the fact that it's as long as you need it to make it or need to make it. Make it.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your background quick, because I don't want to burn a lot of time on that. I want to burn a lot of processes. But tell everyone where you're from.
So I'm from South Jersey, right outside of good old Philadelphia, and I grew up in a family business that eventually turned into a $100 million empire of 5 different businesses, all related back to trucking. So truck parts, truck repair, brokerage of freight, trucking, like the actual brooms of the trucks, and property management. So it's I grew up from the age of 6, working in the warehouse, getting up to to work on the counter, meeting the customers, doing sales, to working on the IT end of it, working on the servers, working on the process with all the different internal office management, all the way to the top with the marketing and inventory management, everything. I've seen it. I've seen it all from the largest independently owned truck parts supplier on the East Coast at the time that eventually was sold in 2015. I left the company in 2014 to do my own thing. Didn't know what I was going to do. I started a podcast 1 month later after having a fist fight with my dad because it just got so bad. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I had to get out.
Working with families, a mofo, right? I mean, it's bad. I got a family-run business too. It takes a long time to get the pecking order established because everybody thinks, that I don't want to sound crude here, but this is how it works. I drug my wife into entrepreneurialism by the back of her hair like a cave woman. She was kicking and screaming, when are you going to get a job? When I was making more every month than she made in a year. And I couldn't understand, like, man, what's broken in this person? She wants me to get a job and I just made 30,000 this month. I mean, what kind of job do you want me to get? I got a high school degree, man. I had a job for 15 years. No one wanted to pay me over $20 an hour. As responsible and resourceful as I was, I wasn't valued by that segment of the world.
And still disposable the
I
whole
was
way
disposable and I was making them money. And every time I figured out how to make them more money, they did not give me any of it. So then I start, I need help. So I tell them, I actually called my wife's boss and told her she was quitting in 2 weeks because she wouldn't do it. So you think I caused some problems around my house?
I bet.
You think family and business was fun at my house? I called her boss and said, she was making about $36,000 a year. And she was making this guy a fortune. She was in temporary placement business and she was placing all these people. She was really good at it. Like a headhunter, kind of thing. I called the boss and said, hey, my wife's going to be quitting. I just want to give you a notice that my wife's going to be quitting in 2 weeks. And he started laughing. He goes, does she know? And I said, no, I just want to make sure you're okay with 2 weeks. I mean, if you need a little longer, you've been really good to us. I'll give you however long you want. I just want to know how long it is because she's going to be giving her notice soon. He started laughing. He goes, you think she's going to agree with this? I said, I don't think so, but this is what's happening. Because she says, why are you doing this? And I said, because you know how responsible she is. And I know how responsible she is. And she can make me all the money she's making you. And that's why she's leaving. He says, I get it 100%. He says, I don't blame you. So that was my first help was my wife. Not a good idea. Don't do it. But one is you put your family in the business. Now y'all can't go on vacation together without the whole business being shut down. That's the big thing. That was the biggest problem. The other thing is, you're around each other enough. Sometimes you need to go to work for 8 hours and get away from each other. It's not 10 hours. And
you got to learn how to take vacations separate sometimes. That's what me and my wife do that from time to time.
I've been married 30 years. You know what I mean? So it's worked, but I got a lot of black eyes in the process, but that's okay. So you quit the trucking company. What next?
Yeah, so I started up the podcast. It was called the Dreamers Podcast at the time. I was interviewing people, like inspiring people to help figure out what I want to do. Because like you, I only had a high school degree, right? Diploma at that. So I started going back to school. I started up the podcast, went 5 days a week at one point for 3 months with the show, got a big back catalog, slowed it down a little bit, started turning out some books over the next couple of years, did a bunch of speaking gigs, talking. At the time, it was more focused on dreaming and like what you wanted to be and that kind of stuff. But as time went on, I found, hey, I really enjoy business. It's in my roots, it's in my blood, and I want to be able to really kind of shape my show in that direction. So the show became Dreamers Podcast, business lessons from those that live their dreams. And that's really where the focus went. Then eventually I got nominated for Business Podcast of the Year in 2017 from Podcast Awards. And I was like, oh, okay. Talking to a good friend of mine, she's like, Joe, she's like, I love your show. I love you. But if I saw your show outside of knowing you, I probably wouldn't click on it because it just it doesn't speak to me. Right. So I was like, okay, time to change the show. I ended up winning the award when didn't think I was going to win. I was nominated, won the award, changed the show to Business with Super Joe Pardo. And since the end of 2017, it's been that way. I wrote my fourth book, which is called Sales Won't Save Your Business. And it's just been so much fun getting to do something that I really enjoy, which is helping business owners focus on their team, their offer, their process, and having everything in line with what I enjoy the most.
All right, cool. So, man, that's quite an accomplishment out of all the podcasts in the world. How many are there? Like 425,000 of them or something?
Something like that. It's ridiculous.
Well, and you also teach about podcasting. We're not going to talk about that today, but I just want to let everyone know. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put something about it in the show notes. But so let's start with, you got the team, the offer, and the process. Let's start with the team. Let's bite into some meat here.
Yeah. So with the team starts with you, right? There's no I in team, but there is a me. And getting yourself, right. Getting yourself in a place where you can enable yourself to empower others, right? Instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to do this myself because I can. Let me go through and figure out how I can empower others to get the job done, how I can empower myself, right? So that I'm not tearing other people down when they don't inevitably do exactly what I wanted them to do or exactly how I wanted it done. So it starts with empowering yourself to open your mind and open up what you're available to. Does that make
Yeah,
sense,
yeah,
Mitch?
yeah. So the reason why I'm excited about the show is because everybody needs this. I was one of those guys, thought that the business I was in was just not one of those businesses you could systematize, which was the stupidest mind screw ever. I screwed my mind bad. Uh, just because I couldn't figure it out, I blamed it on the industry or the kind of business I had, that it really wasn't conducive to doing it, which was the dumbest thing in the world because they push a BMW out of a factory like one every 4 seconds or some crap. And building a BMW has got to be more complicated than flipping a house. I mean, geez, come on. You know what I mean?
I
So
would
that
think
was just the
so.
stupidest thing I ever thought to myself. And I really mind screwed myself on it. Uh, and come to find out, it is my business was systematizable. I just, first of all, had to believe it could be. Second of all, had to want it bad enough. And how that came about was you just get to you're going to fall down. I mean, you're going to fall down. I was out. I was saying, I've done it 15 years. I'm going to fall down. I'm dead exhausted. Don't care if I ever see another house again in my life. I can't do it anymore. And I was really a bad salesman. Hey, I'm calling about that house for rent. Hey, where the hell did it say for rent, you jerk? I was like, this guy's calling on my sign. It's a for sale sign. And he pisses me off because he wants to know if it's for rent. I don't know. I was becoming the worst sales guy in the world. Bottom line is, I said, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit $1 million a year business. I said, I'm done. Can't do it. And then I started laying awake at night. Am I really going to walk away from $1 million a year? I mean, can't you salvage half of it? Can't I just get like 8 people and pay them a total of 500,000 and it'll run and I can just keep at least half, you know? And I thought, I got to try one more time. But this time, not going to do it by myself. I'm going to hire someone. I ended up going to a mastermind that had 40 people in my business and half of them had already systematized and could vacation all over the world all year long. And that was the first step, was believing, right?
Yeah, believing, and I also think you really need to sometimes just take a step back and realize that, like, the world doesn't have to center around you, right? Like the world of your business, you can break the things down into smaller pieces so that you can part out some of them, because that burnout, obviously it affected you. It absolutely affected me. That's why I walked away. It can consume you. And the other thing is when you start looking at, okay, so if I hire these people, now I need to manage these people. And sometimes just because we know how to do the thing that gets us the money doesn't necessarily mean we can do the thing that can empower other people to get us the money and make it all continue to roll. It's a whole
Exactly.
other skill set.
Being a trainer, being a great house flipper and being the trainer of people to run your business, you may suck at, which I do. This is my idiot of training. Hi, secretary. How you doing? First day on the job? Great. There's your desk. There's your phone. See you later. That's how I train.
And that's very off-putting, right? So it might be hard for you to find that right person who can punch back, right? That could say, okay, you just hit me in the face with all this stuff and walked away without giving me any kind of training or like, hey, here's how we do this, here's the way we do things, or here's a handbook, a manual. And now somebody that you have to find that person who not only can do that task, but is willing to punch back to hang in there for more than like 2 months.
Yeah, so this is what happened to me. So I would finally get someone who had what it took to figure out something on their own, but they were more like entrepreneurs. They were so they could adapt so fast. It's like they wouldn't be at my job for long because they would either figure out what I was doing or they would start their own business or something. So I was getting these people that wouldn't stay. You know, the good ones wouldn't stay because I was getting the wrong kind. What I needed was worker bees that knew how to follow directions, but didn't have I like to say, I like to hire people that don't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. And I actually test them for that. I don't like them to be, my big money makers, like my acquisition people and my salesmen. I like them to be big money makers. I like them to money be real important to them. I love for them to be mismanagers of their private money. That's one requirement. They need to not handle their private money very well. And the other one is they can't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. Other than that, I'm looking for all the good stuff. I was testing for responsibility, honesty, neatness, cleanliness, organized, all the good stuff. But I needed these two flaws in them so that they would stay. And it worked. So
yeah, I think the other thing is finding somebody who likes to vacation more than they care about the money. The person that wants to work for their vacation, that wants to work for the top, for their cruises or whatever it is that they enjoy, and are at the right stage in life where they don't need more. So I think that's a great way of looking what you pointed out, like looking for those couple of flaws, like quote unquote flaws, and as well as like looking for people that they're just like, I just want my paycheck, and I don't want to have the headaches. I don't want to manage anybody. I don't want to be responsible. Bam, I'm out of here. Like, maybe 6 o'clock once in a while, staying, doing a little bit late stuff, but like, for the most part, it's just, I want my vacations. I want to enjoy life outside of here. I want to go home and not have to think about it and that kind of stuff.
Let's talk about some things, though, that are usually very easy to get off your back really quick. One is if you got collections or accounts receivable, that's easy. Get someone else on that. Other thing is bookkeeping. Okay, get someone else on the bookkeeping. Quit doing your own books. They got companies that do all this stuff, both of those. Mm-hmm. We actually have a note servicing company. So if you're out there and you're collecting your own payments on houses because you're selling houses with seller financing, check out Moat Note Servicing. You can get that off your back. Can you think of any other easy ones to get off your payroll?
So I always look at like services that I can get through like a Fiverr or Upwork, where it's like, okay, so if I need any kind of graphic design work done, like, oh, I could do something. I know how to use Paint, or even Photoshop kind of. It's like, yeah, but like if it takes you 45 minutes to do something, pay someone $5 on Fiverr, and you might have to do 2 revisions that, like a few minutes of telling them what you want in a revision, but it's like, it's getting done. So you don't actually have to hire somebody. You don't have to increase your payroll or your insurance or any of that stuff. You just send the money to somebody who can get this, what your vision is completed. I would also look at like, if you get to a point where you need some kind of payroll, there's payroll services.
There's a good one. Payroll services. My gosh, don't do that. Don't do payroll.
Exactly. Just do the time, get them to clock in and out on a software side, or even a punch card, and get a payroll company to do it. HR services. Once you get like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, you need somebody to turn to, because like those people are going to have questions like insurance questions or whatever. You're going to have insurance questions. So you can go get yourself an HR company. I would say also, IT services. You might have a technical background. Like I have a pretty expansive technical background when it comes to computers, but you can hire somebody else. At a point you can hire a tech company to go and take care of that stuff for you, rather than you trying to fix everything yourself. Or the thing that always drives me crazy is when people are like, I just don't do that anymore. Like I'll just, that piece of the software just stopped working, or that software stopped working, or that copy machine stopped working. So we just work around it, instead of trying.
Hey, so let's talk about the one horse show here. You got a guy by himself. First of all, delegate your bookkeeping, delegate your collections, delegate your IT and all that stuff. And I know it's hard because you're not rich yet and you're trying to save money. But there's a fine line between working below your pay grade or working out of your league and spending money or making money. So be careful what you choose. I like to get that idea of don't work below your pay grade. You know, if you bought 3 houses in the last quarter and you made $45,000, just divide that by a 40-hour work week, you know, or a 60-hour work week, whatever the case may be. Figure out what you're worth an hour, and if that job that you need done is less than that, then you're writing a check to somebody, right? That's a good rule of thumb, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
The other thing is you really need to be aware of the VA services that are available overseas now, because you can really maximize some menial tasks for $2.50, $3 an hour. And they're way better workers than our minimum wage worker here in the United States, like way better. The job's important. The time is almost completely opposite. I think from where I'm from, it's 12 and a half hours difference. So lunchtime here, it's midnight there. But they're used to, you know, in the Philippines, they're used to working your hours. Mm-hmm. Technology has bringing a middle class to the Philippines, and people that make $5, $5.50 an hour in the Philippines, that's the equivalent to a $50,000-$60,000 a year job in the United States. And so now you're getting for $5, $5.50, you're getting a guy that used to run a floor on a hospital. You know what I mean? You're getting some guys. These guys are not dumb. You know, they're not. You can't even compare their $5.50 person to our $10 person an hour in the United States. They're so much more proficient most of the time. You can't speak in all generalities, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, getting things for like scheduling, booking, appointments. There's so many things that, writing documents, email response. Like, there's so many things that you can sub out to help alleviate some of that time that you're spending. And I think the important thing there is start to really take a look at how you're spending your time, right? What you're doing, so you can figure out, like, what can I get that would help free me up to say, go buy, like, pick out which houses I want to buy, or go do more sales calls because that's what I'm good at, or those are the things. Like, you need to be doing that so that you can hire more people. One of my goals, Mitch, is to create and save jobs, right? That's like with my TV show, with everything that I do, it's always to create and save jobs. So to be able to say, okay, you're doing great, you're doing 1%, you're one person, like, but I did $1 million. Yeah, but like, what's the quality of life that you're living? Well, I enjoy my life. Well, I always say, build your business for your lifestyle, not your lifestyle for your business. So it's finding that balance, and that balance is different for everybody. I don't preach like you got to work the 4-hour work week because some guy wrote a book, and that's a cool. Like, that's great. Some people will think that that's great. I think for me, that would be really boring to me to not have more things to create, more things to do. So you have to find that balance, and just sitting down and saying, okay, if I have, say 50 hours a week, I'm going to work 50 hours a week. Okay, great. How are those 50 hours going to be spent? Try to block it out. And then you could like sit back and be like, oh, okay, cool. So there's like a bunch of time here that I could be doing more selling, creating more revenue, versus like doing some of the back end stuff that I could sub out to other people. But by doing that, by putting it in black and white on paper, it creates that ability for you to like have that step back moment and say, wow, I'm wasting a lot of my time.
Look, we got an outbound calling room. There's 37,000 people behind on taxes in my city. Okay. 37,000. I got one person that's a VA that sorts that list, because they're not all prospects for me. The one that just, was $100 late or $500 late last week, and he's behind now $500. That's not my guy. I need someone who's $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 behind, got a real problem, and the window's closing down on him. So you cut the list in half. So half of 37,000 is something. 18,500 people. So I got $3 an hour VAs that speak Pretty good English, really good English. Matter of fact, we have to pay them a little bit more, maybe $350, or we like to keep the wage low, but bonus upon accomplishing the task that we wanted to get accomplished that day. So the carrot's always in front of them. So long story short, we got 3 of them. They're calling 200 people a day. And all they're trying to do is find out, are you the owner of that house that I'm at 116 Main Street? Yes. Would you like to talk about selling it? Yes. Okay. Talk to this guy. And then they turn it over. That's all they're trying to do, is find a warm body who wants to talk, that really owns the house. That's all they're trying to do. They're calling 200 people a day times 3. That's 600 people a day. And I'm paying $9 an hour combined total, with bonuses for connections and sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And reaching, every time you reach 200 that day, you get a little extra, Now, whether they really reach the 200 or not, I don't know, because some of this stuff is hard to police, but I feel good that it's working, because it's being successful.
Right.
I mean,
the numbers are making sense.
it's buying enough houses that if they only called 170, I really don't give a crap, because I'm buying enough houses. It'll become a problem if I'm not buying enough houses. That was one way. Sometimes I just want to get a bunch of people off the internet. I would go find me every real estate club in the planet that has to do with this, and so they start going across the United States looking for real estate clubs in Facebook or something. You know what I mean? They do those kind of things for me. And I love those. I have 6 VAs that work for me, counting throughout all my companies. And they're really team players as far as I'm concerned. I'm glad they're on my team, and it gives a whole nother dimension to help when you don't have to pay $15 an hour for good help. So I've got a link for you guys. I'm going to put it in the show notes for a VA company that I recommend. I can't remember the link off the top of my head, but if Julie gets back to me, that's what I was doing. I wasn't being rude. I was trying to find a link to a VA person that we could give out here if you want to get somebody. All right. So we got the offer. Now you got the team. We could spend a lot of time on this, but let's move to the offer.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the offer.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, the offer really comes down to like the product or the service that you're offering, and how you can, make a small tweak to make a big difference. I always give the example of, so you go to the Mexican restaurant, and there's actually one that I go to that I love the guacamole, but it comes in like a little like black, not a little cup, but like a medium-sized black cup, right? And it's like $9. It's like, this is awesome. This is as good as the restaurant over in Philly. That's incredible. That charges $13. But it comes with the mortar and pestle setup, and they charge $13 for it. Sure, they're in the city, but it's like you could charge probably another $1 or $2 because and only have to give like a little bit more to fill out that setup. But the appearance, the perception is raised so much that it's like, I'm not going to mind spending $11 versus $9. It's great stuff. I'm getting a little bit more, and the presentation is there. So it's like, to spend an extra, I don't know, $30, $40 on a cup, each on like the appearance can help elevate how much revenue you can do. So it's little things like that, or simplifying the offer, right? You go into like the Alex and Annie store, and you say, it's my wife's birthday. Okay, what do you want to say? And they basically say like, give me like 2 words, and then they come back with 3 options, and you're like, I want that and that, and because they match together, bam, they just made like a $60 sale. And just asking like 2 questions. That's the kind of offer that I'm talking about when I say, you can make these little changes, just really refine what you're offering, and how the customer interacts with the offer, and how your employees interact with the offer, your team members, how they interact with it. So if you can get it down to this fine point, it just makes it so much easier to say yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of how that works in my business. All I can think of is, and I don't know if it applies here because it's not really about the offer, but I think service is really, seems to me is dead in this country. I mean, like, service is just like really lacking. I try to tell my people, we got to give service. We got to be whatever it is. Well, they're asking for this stupid stuff. I said, if they're asking for it, we need to figure out how to give it to them. I don't care how stupid you think it is. If that's what they're asking for, we need to make it easy just to give it to them. How do we make it easy for them? You know,
Yep. How
in
do
a,
you make it easier to say
instead of
yes?
saying, "Oh, that's a dumb thing," and pushing them off, I don't like the question either, and I don't think we should have to do it. But if that's what they're asking for, do it.
If
Because
it
I
gets them
want to
to
be known
say
as a
yes.
service.
Yeah, I think so. If you're on the phone, so your people are calling people who are upside down, in debt. They need a way. I mean, I envision that we have signs around here that says "We'll buy houses for cash," you
Yeah.
know, that kind of thing. So I envision it's a similar type of model, right? Buy it for cash and get it fixed up, sell it, at value, or hopefully above value.
Well, the name of my company is Cash for Houses. So
Bam, there you go. I mean, it can't get any more simple than
with
that.
the number 4. The problem is I was in my stupidity way before I would do anything. I put cashforhouses.net, which was the biggest mistake in the world, because whoever owns cashforhouses.com gets a phone call from me about every day. I think for me every day, probably, because everyone inadvertently puts in .com instead of .net. So, but I come too far to change it. After 2,000 houses, like, I'm not changing it.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should reach out to them and try to buy the site off of them.
I already did. It's not going to work. So the offer. Do you have an example of someone who changed their offer? I mean, you had that one with the guacamole, but anything off the top of your head, someone changed an offer?
Off the top of my head, without wasting a bunch of time. Oh yeah. So yes. So one of my clients is an interior designer, and changing her offer in how she collects the money has made a pretty significant difference. Changing her offer so that the contract is more front loaded, front to middle loaded, rather than like on the back end, has enabled her to actually collect the money without having to go chase people around, as well as putting together proposals in a more simplified way. So it's like, hey, look, this is the proposal now. The front page gives you the most, and then if you want to know more, there's more in the back, but you don't have to read through all of it to get it. Like the summary, because the people that are making those decisions aren't necessarily the people that are going to like peer through every single page. It depends on how big the company is, how many decision makers there are. You have to be able to just look at it and make a decision. So for her, it's made a lot easier. It also can be also who you're targeting, right? Who is the clients or the customers that you're trying to target? Who are those people, and what are they trying to look for? Where they're looking for it, and trying to be there for them. So going, one of the things that another one of my client, or one of my coaching clients worked through was trying to understand, like, hey, doing the like trying to get business organically through like networking stuff is great, but it's not necessarily going to be enough to get you to where you want to be. So being more specific, like specifically going to where the clients are, and not just like, oh, well, hopefully so-and-so that I meet at this event, or I meet here at this conference or whatever, is going to network, and it's going to all work out. And depending on what you offer and what you sell, maybe it could, but when you're talking about a very specific niche of things that you're looking for, like in your case, it's, people that are upside down that got to get out of there.
Motivated sellers,
Yeah, exactly. So you're looking for those specific people. So finding, calling up me is not going to help you, because I live in the house I grew up in and have 0 payments missed and 0 interest in moving, versus calling people down the street that, pay way more for their house and all that. Might be a thing that they're like, this could be a way for us to get out of a bad situation that we got ourselves in. That kind of thing. So finding those specific people and narrowing it down to them is really helpful.
So tell us about your giveaway. You have a giveaway called Rocket Your Business Value. What's this? It's a PDF. What can they expect from it?
Yeah, so it basically focuses on different ways that you can increase the value of your business, and we've talked about quite a few of them, right? So here's an example, Mitch. If you want to sell your business right now, right? how invested are you in the success of your business versus, say, and I don't know how long ago you started, but say like a year or two after you started where you were doing everything?
Well, I've been 24 years. So in 15, in the first 5 years, I did everything. And then I started finally getting some people.
So the value there, right? If you went to sell your business 5 years after before you started giving people, responsibilities, is a lot lower because they got to keep you on board to keep it working, unless they have a machine that they can plug a U into it. So that's one of those things where it's like, how do you, again, go back to processes? How do I build the processes so I can put other people in place so that if I sold it tomorrow, like sold the whole business, they're getting all of that without necessarily needing me in it.
Yep.
I don't have to be in the picture, because it's like the upside down pyramid effect. You pull the bottom piece out, the whole thing's going to come collapsing.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. So like I have a coaching segment of my life, and that's all centered around me. I'm the center point of that business. That business can never really be sold because I am the featured asset of that business. And you learn to recognize that pretty quick. If you get the other one says, man, is it time to turn the page on this? If we've been doing it for 5 or 6 years. He goes, yeah, well, there's no subbing this out. You know what I mean? I started out wrong. I mean, I know coaching guys that own coaching companies that are free. I just set mine up around the wrong thing. If that's what I wanted to do.
You could always
what I wanted to do.
You could start a program where you're recruiting other other coaches to work under you as part of an agency. So it's never too late. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to invest the time to, again, write down all the things that you're doing for it, look at the time that you're doing, write down all the processes that you go through, like maybe make some videos so that you can do that. And then you do group coaching calls with those coaches to help expand that reach. So it's not impossible. It just, you got to be willing to take the time to do that.
Right. And recalibrate everything. Right. So
Yes.
To get that Rocket Your Business Value PDF, go to reinvestorsummit.com/rocket. ROKET, rocket, baby. reinvestorsummit.com/rocket. We got one last piece here. I'm getting a little pressed on time myself here, but let's talk a little bit about processes, Super Joe Pardo.
Super Mitch, the process we've been talking about the whole time, because the process ties into the team, it ties into the offer, and it's really the whole, it's the package that is everything is delivered in, right? It's how your team members, they interact with your business. It's how your clients interact with your business, how you interact with your business, and looking at okay, how do I set limits? One of the things I did with one of my clients, my coaching clients, I said, look, you're like running, in a hamster wheel with, I gotta be available 24/7 from the phone. And Facebook, all my peoples are constantly writing questions and things of that nature. And I was like, well, what if you set like a limit and you train them to understand, like, hey, this is the 2-hour window that I will be on Facebook 5 days a week or 6 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever it is. This is that window. Get your question, when your question's in, this is when you can expect the answer. Now, if there's a real emergency, so just like on my phone in the middle of the night, my phone will not make any noises unless somebody calls me. Since they're calling me in the middle of the night, it's probably important, or it's a robocall that we haven't gotten there. Thank God. And hopefully we stay away from there. So, really setting yourself up to help set those expectations for both team members and your clients. And yeah, I mean, that's really where the process plays into delivering the whole business.
So when I decided to try to create processes and get myself out of the middle of my business, like I said, I went to this mastermind, and I went there with an open mind. I went there kind of in desperation that I had to let someone there. I needed it so bad that I was committed to listen and to try things out of my comfort zone and to try to save this $1 million a year job, or at least, business, and try to save at least half of it. So the first thing that we did, obviously, was we built a tree of hierarchy of who's at the top of the business, which was me, and then everyone down, and where they sat, and what, just as a 10,000 foot overview, what their job title was, acquisition guy, acquisition manager, over the guys, salesperson, sales manager over the top of them, and I just drew out all these circles on this thing. And then it was like, all right, now how am I going to find these people and how am I going to train them? I was not a very good trainer. So what I would do is I would hire people and say, this is the job. This is what we're trying to, the end result is, I haven't got this whole seat perfected yet. I need you to help me figure this out. So they would sit in the seat and we would like design their deal. And then I would tell them, all right, I want you to get on the computer and document every place you go on the computer to do this. And I made them write their own handbook. I said, I need you to document this so I know, like if you're not here today, I know how to do it. What I was really saying was, if you're not here today, I can hire someone else to do it. But you know what I mean? So I said, I want to know how to do it if you're not there. So, explain it to me. And so I got them to write the manuals for their seat. And then I would go back and tweak those manuals. If there's something they wrote in there that I didn't like or whatever, I would tweak it the way I wanted. And then I had a little light, sometimes not so light manual for that chair. You know what I mean? And these guys, here's the magic. And then we got to wrap it up. By the time I finished systematizing and I got everybody, I thought that I was going to have to give up $500,000 in salary and just keep half of it so I could be free. I was going to give up $500,000 to be free. What happened was, and I've said this before on the show, was each individual person was so much better than divided Mitch at that job that I made more than the $1 million I was used to making even after they got paid. That's what happened, much to my amazement. And people have told me about it, but dumb Mitch, Mitch got to get hit in the head with a hammer with a concept before he learns it. And so I did what they said. I let them unwind me. I let them wind me back up. They made me do things that was like really painful. They said, go on vacation and don't call your office for a week. I was like, I can't do that. They said, that's what you're going to do. I'm like, I can't do that. They said, well, you're going to do it. We're going to find out where your office is broken.
Yep. It's the best way to do it, just to not be available. Because if you're always there to put out the fire, things can't, those issues can't rear their head, right? And when you make changes, more issues are going to rear their head. So changes is like, you're not there. How is this going to get done? Somebody's either going to figure it out, it's going to sit on the wayside, and hopefully nothing gets totally broken.
No, you know what I had done my whole life with these people? I mean, the ones that I did have around me, I had a certain amount of people around me. I learned that I had trained them not to make any decisions without talking to me. I had trained them. They had to call me about everything. Hey, can we buy paper today? I'm like, and so I had to learn to say, I don't know. What do you think? If I'm not here right now, if I'm dead, are you going to buy paper or not? Says, well, we need paper. I said, well, then buy the paper. You don't have to call me to buy paper. Okay. But I'm the one who trained them to do that. Yep. Inadvertently. I didn't mean to. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we need staples. Okay. Go get some.
It's funny. My grandfather, when he before he left the company and passed away shortly after, he used to complain to other people. They'd be like, look, me and Bert were doing this stuff. We were doing purchasing all these parts and blah, 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 doing all this, inventory management stuff. He's like, now we got like 4 people and it ain't getting done anywhere like what I want it to be done or nothing's getting accomplished. And I'm like, yeah, but not everybody has that a level of experience that you have going back. I don't know, like 25 years. Like there's a difference, and it's more people that have to communicate, and everybody's got to be on the ball at the same time. It's not just you knowing every piece of what's going on and spitting out an answer, but also, by the way, working 7 days a week and pretty much around the clock. So
yeah. So the lesson for me was because those people were focused on one thing they had to do all the time, and when Mitch was there, Mitch had 15 things he had to do and didn't do any of them very good because he never could finish a task without the phone ringing or whatever. So these people were so focused, and that's all they did every day, and they could concentrate, that they did their job much better than me. I was better than them one-on-one, but I could never just sit in that chair for 8 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And I learned to value that very much. And like now, I don't care if I'm better than anybody at anything. I want them to be better than me at everything, please. I mean, if I'm 58 years old, I'm tired of this shit.
I think that goes to saying with the, the training is like, well, if we train our people, what if they take that information and leave? And it's like, what if they don't leave and you don't train them and you're stuck with them because, your comfort, is there. I think, getting comfortable with hiring people it's a task in and of itself, being able to trust somebody else. And I've worked with clients on trying to figure that, work their way through. Well, we hired somebody we did that one time and it didn't work out well. So we tried it again. That didn't work out too well either. And it's like, yeah, look, I get it. No one wants to go through the process of hiring people, all the steps it takes and having to meet with different people and find the right person. But that's why you can hire eventually. If you do enough in your sales, you can hire somebody to do said thing for you. That's how HR has a job, or one of the reasons they have a job.
So I'm going to say this, then we're going to wrap it up. One of the biggest hurdles for me, though, in setting up the business, and I think this is relevant. I'm going to put it in the context of my business, but you listeners out there, if you have a different business, put it in the context of your business. I was used to buying 100 houses a year. And when it came time to fix my business, all the times before I tried and failed, I did not give myself permission not to buy 100 houses that year. What happened on the time that I got successful, the last time I tried and the last time, A, I got professional help. B, I gave myself permission not to buy 100 houses that year. I was going to buy 20 or 25 or 30, but it wasn't going to be 100 because I was going to be spending my time trying to make a business that runs without me. And I couldn't do two things at one time. And that was one of the biggest things. I gave myself permission to take a couple of steps backwards, which was, drop in sales that year. God only knows how much 70 houses was worth to me. I don't know how much it was worth. Well, I do, but I just choose not to.
But the time of now, right? Like
but now I'm free. I gave up 70 houses one year so I could, the profits on 70 houses. So I didn't have to be in that business anymore. And it still ran, and it ran better, and it ran faster, and it ran more profitable than when I was there in the middle. So I gave myself permission to not do as well that year because I had to focus on something that wasn't going to make money for 6 or 7 months. I had to get all these chairs to there, and then I had to get them working together, and then I had to figure, get them all pulling in the same direction. But when it started working, it took off. So look, go to reinvestorsummit.com/rocket, get a consult. Super Joe Pardo, he'll help you systematize your business. If you need someone in your corner, give him a call, talk to him about it, or there might be a link in the show notes. I don't know what's over there, but you're going to get everything you need. You'll also have the giveaway, Rocket Your Business Value, which is, a PDF on certain things you can do to increase the value of your business, one of which is get your butt out of the middle of it and make it a whole plate full of goods you can sell. Man, I really want to thank you for taking the time to stop by. You have a podcast, right? What is it?
I do. It's called Business with Super Joe Pardo.
Business with Super Joe Pardo. Go find his podcast. You going to have me on your podcast?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully I'll have you out here in Atlantic City for the podcasting conference in September.
All right. And you also teach people how to do podcasting. That's another thing you do. Yep. There'll be something about that in there too, in the show notes. And I have a course, $997 course on profitable podcasting, if anyone's ever interested. But I was thinking about working out something with Joe about it because he's already doing it and I don't have time. And podcasting is not my forte per se, although in the last 5 years, you might be surprised at how good I am at podcasting and how it pays.
I was surprised. I know I was surprised. That's not me just blowing smoke. Seriously, it's awesome to see somebody doing so well from podcasting because there are a lot of people that aren't and they don't know what they how to build that audience and build a target with a funnel to get people to buy the thing that they're looking to sell, and whether it's their product or somebody else's product. it's or an event. There's so many different ways that you can use this authority that you build by doing these podcasts.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to it. It's not as complicated as you might think. The good thing is I, like we were just talking about, I had good people around me and they knew about this stuff. I didn't start a podcast to make money. I started it to spread my authority, my expertise, the perception of Mitch Stephen over a wider geographical territory. And it ended up being something much, much different. And it's just because the people around me knew about it. I didn't know anything about it. And they still know more about it than me, but I know what I have to do now. There's a lot of people would quit their job to make what I make on this podcast. About, what would you say, 85% of the people in the world?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think this is fun. And you know why it's fun? I get to talk to super smart people like Super Joe Pardo, and I get to learn things from these guys, and they think it's an interview. It's really just my ploy so I can rake their brain for as long as I want, like an hour or 45 minutes.
That was my goal 5 years ago.
Yeah. So, you can ask smart people if you can take them to lunch and rake their brain, and they'll tell you to go jump in a lake. You can ask smart people if they'll be on your podcast for an interview, and they'll say yes, and they'll show up at the time agreed, all spiffy except for Joe here. He got his first.
This is how I rock, man. The gray V-necks. You should watch my TV show.
The questions that you ask at the lunch they blew you off on, the questions you were going to ask are the same questions you're asking on the podcast. So I do this for a lot of reasons. One is it keeps me smart, keeps me on top of my game, and I meet a lot of great people, and you're one of them, Joe. Thanks for being on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Again, go to Rocket. Go to reinvestorsummit.com/rocket. Get your free PDF. And don't forget to check out taxfreefuture.com. You won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. Learn how to invest and grow your financial resources tax deferred or tax free. It's a huge benefit. And we're going to explain to you why those financial advisors are not telling you what you need to know and why. There's a reason. All right, my friends, we're out of here. This is Mitch Stephen with the RE Investor Summit podcast. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for stopping by to get you some Super Joe Pardo. And we're out of here.
Thanks, Super Mitch.
Bye.